All right. We got ourselves a best of 3 series. A TvP. This one is from the DreamHack SC2 Masters Last Chance event. The last chance for players to earn ESL points in the 2020-2021 season. This from the group stages. I think this one was the winners match as well. I actually didn't get a chance to see this group live at the time, so actually works out well because that means that when we can cast this and actually have some fun with it. So let's take it away. In the top left-hand side, the blue Protoss player here is Trap. And down the bottom right-hand side, our red Terran player is ByuN. I know everyone loves a little bit of ByuN action. And this one is probably, I mean, not going to lie, this one we picked it out to put it up on the YouTubes as well. I was just explaining to my stream, so I'll quickly explain to YouTube that I just took a week off streaming, basically. So the last couple of days of YouTube uploads have been me kind of like scraping the bottom of the barrel of things I casted in the last couple of weeks, just to make sure we had an upload every day. So this one's just to help move things along a little bit more quickly once again, and to just give us something extra to upload and just create a little bit of a buffer as well, just in case the ESL Open Cup games today aren't so good. Maybe they're not worth uploading. At least we'll have this series. So hello YouTube, there's your explanation of life, basically. And yeah, hi. If you're on YouTube, obviously hit the like button. Subscribe if you didn't already. If you end up enjoying the video, don't forget to do it, because yeah, YouTube's been, I've been saying this for a while, but it's been on a downward trend, but we're gonna fix that. We're gonna get it hyped up again, so you could be the start of all of it. This game begins with the engineering bay on the top left-hand side, so it's just gonna block up this natural. The Zealot and the Probe gonna go and try and clean it out, and no surprise to see ByuN is just going to drop the factory. He actually does get the probe kill as he goes Marine first and now into Reactor. So probe was locked into this main base by the factory placement, and this gives ByuN a couple of options. He can go into very fast Hellions from here. He could go into Reactive Widow Mines, a Medevac. We'll see what he wants to do exactly. Usually you just go kind of Rax factory, then you expand, and then you look at a starport a little bit further down the line. He has the money for an expansion right now, so it's going to be a command center. It looks as though it might just be Marine Widow Mine production. That's another way of doing this as well. That's a good way just to kind of give these structures something to do while you wait to then build the starport. So with the CC this fast, obviously makes sense. There is a world where you can make a couple Hellions, then a CC a little bit later on. I don't really like that, because then you're putting a lot of reliance on the Hellions. Your CC is already delayed from where it would usually be. And okay, yes, so is the Protoss Nexus. But yeah, I just kind of like this version better, right? Because now you do just get the CC down. Everything still lines up nicely. These Marines block the factory from landing for a little while. Just give me another Widow Mine there. Just wants to create the space so you can wall off properly. He doesn't want to have his factory here because you don't want this to be a blocked area. You don't want everything to have to run around here to get here, right? You don't want to have to run into your main base by running around the top of these structures, right? So yeah, just kind of makes sense. Move the factory away, put the depot down instead. We are going to be seeing the tech lab building on the starport, and that will probably just lead into a Raven, right? Nothing really too surprising about that, as Trap walks his first Zealot right on into the Widow Mine. So that gets shut down pretty immediately. And just a couple of extra Marines continuing to build on up. Tech lab is on the factory, and just going to be seeing the Hellion of ByuN going up the right-hand side, so going on a little bit of a scout across up to the top of the map just to try and see what's going on. A couple of Phoenix make their way out down the bottom here. Going to lift up a Widow Mine. SCVs are going to pull to repair it, and it's going to be good. So the Phoenix opener is good so far, able to lift a Widow Mine, bring that out of the equation for a few moments. Obviously, Raven now becomes one of those units which is very much so kind of a... I can't quite think of the word, but it's something you're going to have to take care of. It really becomes a problem, because now the Raven is just so vulnerable to these... it's an asset, right? Like, you really have to kind of... it's a burden. There we go. I want to call it a burden, because of this, it's almost impossible to protect the Raven against these Phoenix. A Raven opening against Phoenix, 9 times out of 10, the Phoenix are going to just dive in and kill the Raven, because it's just worthwhile for them to get rid of it. So... the good news here for ByuN is he does actually do pretty good damage onto the Phoenix, right? All of the Phoenix take a beating. I believe that puts all of them within maybe even one-shot potential of a Widow Mine. And that's actually really nice. That makes life a little bit more scary for Trap. He does kill 5 probes on top of the Raven. So don't get me wrong, it's a good opening for Trap. You know, he definitely does the right amount of damage. He puts himself in a decent position. But, yeah, the Phoenix is a little bit battered up. So what I'm trying to say is that for not really killing anything, it's probably the best case scenario ByuN could have been looking for here. Alien gets force fielded in the front, and the Alien is just going to be killed off as the Twilight Council is about to finish from Trap. Just maybe seeing the gateway coming through. And, well, obviously the bio upgrades coming in from ByuN, so he's already making his way forward into those upgrades. Yeah, I mean, everything kind of as you expect, right? The charge and the +1 armor, the pretty typical transition away from these Phoenix, get something on the ground that can really kind of stand up for itself. And that generally is going to be the Zealots. And you just don't really need anything else, right? If you want to go Blink, well, the Phoenix kind of fill the role of the Stalkers already by being drop defense, creating map control. So yeah, right now you really just want to, you know, power up your ground army. And charge in +1 armor is the best way to do that. Get those Zealots powered up, get those into the game. That's a very good way of doing it. There's a couple more Medivacs, Marauders, and Marines all producing. And ByuN, of course, I mean, definitely a fear of moving out in a way, because every time you move out, these Phoenix are a threat. And these Phoenix are something that will backstab you, get more SCVs, make your life more difficult. So, something to worry about in that regard. A few extra gates around the side, and just going to be seeing the rest of our Phoenix. Again, trying to move down toward the front here. Marines coming forward, and the Phoenix taking a little nibble of damage. I actually do see the Medivacs went around the right-hand side, but I think Trap kind of knows this is the timing that should be Medivacs out, and he's like, well, why aren't they with the army at the front? And he's like, well, if they're not with the army at the front, maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe. Yes, they're right up here, and he is going to kind of find them just as ByuN was about to fly in. He boosts, and then he's kind of like, man, I don't even know if he can get away. Yeah, actually just unloading is not such a bad thing right now. The Zealots on the way over. Maybe if you unloaded and just ran out almost immediately. Instead, he kind of unloaded and kind of tried to fight the Phoenix, right? Yeah, this turns out okay, right? You're going to force the Phoenix to lift up a bunch of these units as well. I mean, at least that takes away some of the Phoenix energy. It could have been a lot worse. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, for how this went for ByuN, obviously it was bad. You know, you don't just lose 2 Medivacs, and it's okay, but you know, at least he forced some lifts, he got some Phoenix energy. I'm really trying to find the positives in this game for ByuN, aren't I? Trap's really just having a great game. Let's now look at the resources lost to 1.5k difference. That didn't change my narrative. Never mind finding what's good for ByuN. This is terrible for ByuN. Yeah, I mean, it's really not pretty at all. And this army of Traps is only going to get better with +2 armor on the way. He's on his way to a robo facility, so we're already thinking about future tech. We've got Temple Archives down, so we're going to have Archons in play. So you've got a strong ground army that has a buffering front line with the Zealots. They have the Archons for a bit of splash in the back. And this is just not looking like the kind of game ByuN is meant to do well in with how much he's lost in the early stages. So we'll see if he can change it up at all. Missile turret fires, and the Phoenix taking some hits. They are going to dive in, these Phoenix, and they are going to get rid of this Medivac. So Medivac will go down. These couple Marauders will be in a little bit of trouble as well. I'm just going to be seeing the rest of this from ByuN heading up to the top left-hand side. So just going to be bringing everything to the upper left. Marines, Marauders, and Widow Mines. Everything getting ready to begin here, as we do see the Zealots going to start charging forwards, and ByuN's actually going to get some Widow Mines down. They don't really connect amazingly. The Zealots stayed pretty well split. The Phoenix count is terrifying, by the way. I know we've just kind of seen these Phoenix all game long, but they have gone up to like high numbers. This is 9 Phoenix in the game, and just way higher than you might usually expect as Zealots charging through, and ByuN will turn and take a stand up the ramp. He will push Trap away to the upper left-hand side again, so Trap will fall back from there. There's +2 armors on the way up, +1 attack coming through. As mentioned before, this +2 armor was started early, so that's going to be done now. So these Zealots are really tanky. You know, against just +1 attack of the Terran, these Zealots are going to take a while to chew through. And yeah, ByuN's Ghost Academy could not come soon enough. Anything you can do to speed up the process of getting bio damage to actually kill off units, aka just removing the shields and just getting through the actual health bars more quickly, anything like that is going to help right now, because it's what you need. It's what the Widow Mines will help you to do as well. You just need a way to soften up this army, and right now it's not there. Ghost is the perfect response to everything that Trap is building. In fact, the moment Ghosts come onto the field, this army really devalues heavily. It really is an army that relies massively on shields and being able to be extremely tanky, and the shields are able to do that. My army here is just going to continue to fight. I'm not sure if I really like this trap. I mean, the Zealots kind of just stood there. I mean, they killed 12 SCVs, so I guess they did more than just standing there, but in terms of the army fight, it's actually not so bad for ByuN. If only you could kind of magically get those 12 SCVs back already. Problem is, you know, having lost those workers, you're down almost 30 or so, and the economy for Trap will keep on rolling. He's got money to spend as well. He's got a lot of minerals in the bank. He does have extra gateway star, and he just started 2 more robos also. Looks like he's going to go into immortal production. So really just trying to buffer up this kind of the same army that what he's already got. I mean, there's a good amount of marauders in the force of ByuN, so it's probably not a bad thing to get a couple of immortals. They will absolutely help. And now we see a robo bay. So does expand his options in terms of later game tech here and in terms of actually getting the splash damage up. Yeah, Trap has to slow down a little bit because of the Widow Mines, but they mostly go off on the first few Zealots. And that means that Trap can now continue through. It'd be nice to get some detection here in the end. The Phoenix taking a beating, mind you. It doesn't really matter, does it? There's enough Zealots. There's enough Archons still remaining. And this army will be chased away. No medevacs left. The Widow Mines are going to unburrow us. The only good thing here for ByuN perhaps is that maybe with the Widow Mines you can get something done. But Trap has just played an excellent game. You know, with the Phoenix early, he really put on a good amount of pressure. He knew when to pull them back. He identified when stuff was missing. Those Widow Mines actually do pretty well. He identified really well when, you know, medevacs weren't on the side of ByuN when they should have been, and he realized when to bring the Phoenix back. That allowed him to defend the drop, and all of these little things from Trap earlier in the game really brought him through to a position where he was able to come out and just take a big lead, an outstanding lead, which is now, you know, what we're watching right here. And okay, I think this is just another amazing catch. ByuN can't really catch a break at the moment. Trap is just all over him. All over him. Zealots coming through. Marines are going down. And it looks as though that's going to be Trap just maxed out against a 120 supply ByuN. And he's got Zealots in the main base as well. So just being annoying on this other side too, as the main army will approach down through the center and down to the south. We'll go for a push down here. I mean, fourth base you can force to lift off and deny. I mean, the Zealots can maybe go back toward the main base. That's an opportunity, if nothing else. They are keeping some of the Marines and Marauders from kind of making their way around as well. Phoenix up in the skies as our Archon Zealots, a couple of Colossi readying themselves. Up the ramp we go. Good EMPs onto the Zealots here, the Phoenix. And they are blown up by mines. At this point, I think the Phoenix have kind of done their job. With a couple Colossus in play, they don't even have extended thermal lance, but you know what? Doesn't really matter. The Sim City of the Ghost Academy and the Devos doesn't make a difference. Numbers are numbers. And the numbers don't lie in this one. Trap does just take it down. Picks up game number 1 of this best of 3. Like I said, just a very strong early game that led into a very strong mid game. And GG's called. And that is, again, just going to be Trap picking up the first map of what is a best of 3 that we're casting here. Just before the ESL Open Cup starts, so we don't want to take too long between games or anything and then screw it up for ourselves, you know. Bottom left-hand side, our red Terran player is ByuN. In the bottom left-hand side of Oxide here, so he is looking to bounce back, maybe? It just felt like a very just slow game for ByuN, where nothing really worked, right? From the very get-go. He was just behind. He was not really making, you know, having much success. He was kind of faltering. It just was not really a pretty time for ByuN at all. So he just fell behind, stayed behind, and that was that. ByuN bottom left, our red Terran. Top right, our blue Protoss is Trap. And he is, of course, really just coming out of that first game feeling good. We'll see what he goes for game 2. I feel like one of the big things for Trap lately is he has been really mixing up a lot of his PvT. You know, we just saw him open straight into Phoenix that game. But I've also been seeing him open an Oracle. I've also been seeing him obviously Twilight Council openings are very popular. he really has not been afraid to change up his builds, to change up his styles. And he was always one of the, I mean, obviously we had the phase of Trap being the best PvT player in the world, right? And he could, you know, perhaps he can still say that, but the thing is, that was Trap's defining feature, the fact he was the best PvP player in the world. And now it's like, well, yeah, even if he is, Trap is just an all-around great player, right? Like, his other matchups improve that. Like, this sounds weird to say, right? But his PvT isn't so outstanding compared to his other matchups because his other matchups really leveled up. Like, yeah, his PvT is still great, but his other matchups are on par with it as well. So, yeah, just the ability to kind of mix up builds, and that's something we've seen in all of the matchups from Trap. You know, his PvT, while being great, was very, not really one-dimensional, I guess, but it was very Twilight Council focused. And now we just saw him open Stargate and have huge success there. So, yeah, it's, I mean, obviously shifting meta games as well. More styles are viable. More styles, you know, Blink only is not the way people play anymore. There was a while where you'd go Twilight Council 5 games out of 5 in a best of 5, right? Nowadays, you do want to mix it up. Well, this is just a best of 3. There is the Twilight Council move away from the Stargate. As we just have a command center coming through, he's going to be finishing in a few moments' time. And yeah, other than that, we just have our first adept, which is up against 3 Marines. There's only 1 adept here, so don't imagine this is going to have a chance to do much. And ByuN will just add on that bunker. Make sure you can stay safe at the front without being under too much duress from this adept. The last thing you want to have happen is that this adept is able to kind of run rampant in your mineral line, run rampant on your natural, just kind of pick off SCVs, pick off Marines. Marines actually come forward, and they're going to get some good damage on the adept, forcing it away. It will threaten the shade, and you've got to kind of respect that, because if you don't chase the shade back, then the adept will actually just shade, and then it gets an SCV kill, maybe 2, and then you're just giving up an SCV. So you kind of have to respect that, although ByuN, he kind of respected it. He backed away, and then he moved forward again. So he gave the image of backing off to chase the shade, only to chase the adept in case it stopped short, and then you can maybe catch it off guard. If it stops short, you get on top of it. You know, maybe Tribe doesn't feel like he actually has to run it away. That was a smart little play from ByuN there to try and take advantage of that adept, because he knew there was no world in which this adept was actually going to finish shading. If Trap knew the Marines were on the way back. Link is coming along nicely on the Twilight Council. It'll be finished shortly, and it's just going to be a nice, quick 4-minute third base, so nothing really too out of the ordinary here on Trap's side. Very much just how we'd imagine things to play out as this Blink is about to complete the +1 in Stim on the way through, and there's another SCV just off to this side. Not sure what that's waiting to build, but it looks as though it was maybe not meant to be over there. Okay, well, as +1 and Stim finish up, it's going to be a bit of a different set of timings from last game, because obviously it's the second racks much earlier, and hence the starport is much later in the game. So a little bit of a different approach. Starport's going to come down alongside a rack on a factory. Hallucinated Phoenix gets to see pretty much everything there, so that's good information to have. The Observer on the way out from the Robo facility, and again, the starport's about halfway done. The Stim is finishing. Marauder in production. Everything just rallying now down to the natural expansion, even as Stalkers are going to start making their way out down to the bottom side as well. So Stalkers and Adept, all of this moving out down to the south. Observer still coming off along to the side with the Temple Archives and the Forge on the way up. A couple extra gateways coming through. And just, yeah, trying to see what is going to be next, right? I mean, again, it's not exactly like Trap is in a rush to do anything with the Temple Archives and Charge. He's very happy just to go into the next phase of the game. The Stalkers have been pretty passive, not too unexpected with the way he opens that faster third base. It's not like he's got a ton of gateways. The Observer just flew through into missile turret range, and that's obviously was that an Observer? It was, yeah. Kind of just a mistake, really, right? I mean, not really any reason to lose that. Well, a new one's coming across the map. The Adept is watching out for third base, and third base is building from ByuN in the main. Time for him to move out. This is going to all line up then with combat shields and medevacs. Obviously, Stim and +1 done much earlier in this game. So as he gets combat shields and medevacs, can maybe start to push out on the map, can maybe look for some first initial openings here. Try and find some potential damage. as medevacs do load. So 2 medevacs load up. Starting to move out over to the right side. A bit of bio up through the center of the map as well. Robotics facility finishes off an Immortal, and this unit rallying forwards. Going to go out to the Zealot Sentry, which sits on the 3rd base as well, as our medevacs just unloading. Everything is going to be moving along here in the bio army. Getting up to the top is ready to make a little bit of a play. Sims forward. We're going to see the first Zealot already going down, and now the bio just going to, well, get in an interesting position. You kind of have to fight this. Those are not good force fields, as you can probably tell by the fact it didn't actually stop the bio army moving forward. Now you get to force the force fields on the ramp on the left side. You can turn around and fight on the right side. The unit's out of position on the left. The shield battery was used over there. And now you come down this ramp and you obviously take a bunch more damage as well. This Immortal is just going to survive for the moment. Now it falls. Zealots have walked in, and that might be the end of this attack for ByuN. And it's also just the power of 1-1 still in play, though. These Marines are going to step away, killing Zealots as they go. And new medevacs just showed up. I mean, the moment you run out of Zealots is the moment you start taking real losses on expensive units you don't want to pay to replace. Stuff like these Stalkers, the Immortals, those are things you want to really make sure you don't lose out on. So yeah, definitely something to be cautious of. 2 gateways down in the main, just going to be seeing everything else from ByuN gathering back over the left-hand side. Marine Marauder tank medevac. It's going to come over, clean out, and takes his 3rd base. So ByuN pretty comfortable taking 3 bases now, and we will see Trap surviving and hence teching up. He's going to move into Storm, so not bad. I mean, he definitely did manage to survive that first stage of the game. Was definitely not the easiest of kind of defenses, especially when he missed the first force fields. That really did open just the the doorway for ByuN to get so much done. And this time it is ByuN who's trading way better than Trap. So keep that in mind, that overall here, while Trap has held, it has been at a cost. And if we look at the income graph, Trap more recently has started mine like a little bit more. It's not an overwhelming amount just yet, and right now it's probably more or less keeping him in the game, but if he keeps trading like he's been trading, that's a problem. And wow, the SCVs just got brought across the map. Didn't see those coming, huh? Okay, well, ByuN's going to bring the SCVs across. Tanks are going to start sieging. He's going to start pressing forward. And here we go. Bio starts to stim in. Super battery is active. It's not going to last long. The units aren't in front of it, so he doesn't even try to protect the super battery, and I feel like that's a mistake. Typically, you want the units in front of the super battery and fighting already, because then the super battery survives longer and actually gets to heal everything. This just kind of, now Trap just kind of let ByuN walk into exactly where he wanted to be. I think Trap was almost as surprised about the SCV pull as we were. And ByuN obviously just identifying that Trap was weak after the earlier attack, and now taking full advantage of that, ending this game before it goes on any longer. Well, as I'll show up, and a few reinforcements are here to fight. We'll check in on that soon. Obviously, this is the main fight. Storm is available, and that is scary for ByuN, having to go up against Storms, because you need to push into these positions, especially if you start taking damage at home. And if you need to push in, that's when Storm is amazing, right? Because if you need to attack in, you need to go through the Storms. That Storm misses, though, and that's the sort of thing that Trap can't afford. His Storm numbers are limited. If he wastes too many of those Storms, ByuN is just going to end up pushing his way up this ramp and into the natural. So something to watch out for is a couple of extra Zealots warping in alongside Stalkers, which have been aggressive in this base. And the counter Trap, don't get me wrong, is doing well as ByuN. That works. Sends 4 Marauders forward to get rid of a High Templar that has a Storm. I mean, as soon as you get rid of the Storms, the rest of this game is pretty much just decided, I think. Nothing else in this ground army of Trap will be able to defend this. So giving up just a handful of units for this Storm, that's worthwhile, as ByuN is going to eventually now push his way up into the natural. Time is running out for Trap. Again, the damage he got done across the map was okay. It's just not enough in comparison to the damage he's already taken, plus the fact he's now losing the natural. And now he's actually out of Storms as well. High Templars are gone, and there's not much left for Trap to do here than to really get out of the game. I hate to be so brutal and so blunt about it, but what are you going to do in a position like this? You're down 40 supply, your Terran player is sieged up on your natural that doesn't even have a Nexus on it any longer. Yeah. Zealots and Archon flank in from the left-hand side. They are going to make their move, as the Bio Army here does very well to keep on clearing out. These Immortals will go down. The Archon goes down on the left side in a moment, maybe, possibly. Cute little bit of prison micros. Trap tries anything possible to stay in this game, but it just won't happen. And ByuN is going to tie this one up 1-1 in this best of 3 series. Just like that. Kaboom. Yeah, just kind of, I mean, both games kind of decide by how the pacing goes early on, right? Trap really does well with Phoenix in game 1, gets away with the game. Game number 2, ByuN just initial push, really, I think, set the tone of things. You know, Trap wanted to just play 3 bases, ByuN comes across, bit of a push, has 3 bases going up himself, so not overly committed or anything, just finds Trap in a moment where he's got a powerful ByuN army. Trap has a lackluster army in that sort of scenario. Stalkers didn't do much to slow it down coming across the map, and then you miss the force fields, making life extremely difficult and allowing ByuN to tie this up 1-1. We'll jump on down to start things off in the bottom right-hand side with the red Terran player to tie things up 1-1. It's ByuN. On the top left, our blue Protoss player is Trap. Third game of the series, then deciding map here. And again, just a little bit of a warm-up today if you're watching on the stream to the ESL Open Cup Europe. Just wanted to get a bit of action before that event started. And yeah, get the gears turning again, because like I say, it's been so weird to say we haven't streamed for a week. It's like just so unlike me, right? It's like, what does that mean? Usually that means I've been away at an event instead of just being still at home. Alright, guys. It's obviously aggression here from Trap. Proxy gateway number 2 in ByuN's natural. So he's going to be testing ByuN pretty early on. And if ByuN doesn't scout for something like this, then he can fall into a lot of trouble. And it seems so far to be a good call, because ByuN not scouting before the Rax is finished. So you can scout when Rax is done. That's going to still be a pretty late scout on what's happening. And even then, he might just not do that. You know, one of the things that I think people would always say about ByuN back in the day was that ByuN is very much so a player that just maybe takes risks a lot of the time when they don't need to be taken, because he just believes so heavily in his micro. I don't want to say it's arrogance, right? But it is that sort of idea. It's like, he's like, well, you can't beat me. So, you know, I can micro my way out of any situation. So sometimes he doesn't scout. Sometimes he is a bit greedy. This Marine comes in. Marine first means that the probe goes down. The worst thing here from Trap is that this is not actually an expansion build, right? This is actually a factory before we expand. So it's a bit of a build order win from ByuN. And maybe that's the part of the reason he doesn't SCV scout. Because he just says, well, you know what? If I don't scout, I can get a better economy. And if I don't scout, I can just go straight into my factory on the follow-up and then just go from there. Factory going to lift off. Starport's going to drop down, and it's going to be a little bit of a swap-a-roo factory to the reactor. The barracks moves down, and just going to see a single Stalker making its way up the ramp. But, I mean, walled off. It's not like you can put any pressure on a command center building or anything along those lines. Yeah, I mean, ByuN just going to be happy with this. These Widow Mines, obviously, when they finish up, they're going to be able to burrow, and they pretty much do just shut down this aggression, because as Widow Mines come out, they're going to burrow up. They're going to really just scare these Stalkers off, just keep them away. A couple of Stalkers have to back off away from that as this Rax is going to lift off, and I think it kind of wanted to go to the reactor, but okay, he is going to go to the reactor because the Adept shaded. So because the Adept shade is on cooldown, you can safely put the barracks onto the reactor. If the Adept shade is still there, then obviously you're going to get blocked. So just trying to sell information as well, try and make Trap believe it's more Widow Mines than it is, even if it's just for a short period of time. Trap's going to try and set up Widow Mine off with the Adept shade trick. Wants to try and time this perfectly. That's not perfectly. That's the Widow Mine going down, and now Stalker's going to go down. This is actually disastrous. Trap's micro is leaving a lot to be desired, and ByuN saved the Widow Mines. Very, very cute. Disappointed that he lost the Marine, honestly, at this point, ByuN. I mean, you know, if you're going to micro like this, why not micro it all perfectly? You know, God, how dare you, ByuN? How dare you? I mean, this obviously lines up now into the medevac, moving across the map with the Widow Mines. And back at home, it's just a robo-based opening from Trap. So this is something he sometimes does. This kind of set up into, ooh, these Stalkers actually going to catch this medevac? How did that happen? This medevac must have taken a bit of a weird path, right? I'm not sure what this medevac did to get caught by these stalkers, but it does go down. Okay, not sure what happens there. So yeah, this robot first means that you don't have blink or anything, so it is going to be a little bit more difficult to defend a lot of the stuff that comes your way frequently. Couple stalkers. Continuing away to the upper left side, a few other stalkers setting up. Robo Bay just building the main base. Just going to be seeing the Viking moving around the left side as well. I like this. The Viking going to get a couple of probe kills. Yeah, I mean, for Trap, this is all about just getting those Colossus up quickly. So let's see what he can do. I mean, he does have ByuN kind of held on one base, I suppose. Something that we're not really considering here. I haven't really brought up that this is still just a one base ByuN. So that is problematic for our Terran player. We'll see a second barracks being added on. This observer still out overhead. Raven and the tank going to be finishing in just a few moments, so they will pop out, and a couple of Marines chasing. The auto turret goes down, and that's a dead observer. As the starboard lifts off the tech lab, moves to the side. This rack's going to drop down onto that tech lab soon as well, and ooh, that's a nice force field to catch a few Marines. This tank obviously wants to try and siege up. This Raven's like, I wish I wasn't medevac. What I could do to save these boomers. This Raven can do so much, right? He's got so much utility. You know what I can't do? Save Marines. Oh, tries to drop a mule to block the sentry. Wasn't even needed, I don't think. This actually isn't that bad of a mule because it's so close to the mineral line. It's actually going to get to mine pretty much full HP anyways. So, as ByuN takes the natural expansion, it does come out a few losses from Trap. Trap only lost 2 probes to the Viking, by the way. It must have only been 1, actually, because he obviously was losing 1 probe early against the Marines. So, Viking didn't do that much across the map during all of this. And would you believe that this is going to be a Colossus drop from Trap? This build has become more and more of it. By the way, ByuN still doesn't know there's a gateway in his natural. Oh my god. But yeah, this Colossus drop has become more and more of something that's actually almost, I want to say, dare I say it, almost meta in TvP. Like, I mean, that seems crazy to say, but it's kind of true. Like this, gravitic drive, the warp prism speed, you get the Colossus in the prism. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. These few Marines are going to move out. They're going to go and try and shut down this gateway. At the same time, these tanks are sieged up, and that's a cancel on the Nexus already as Colossus gets into the main base. A few SCVs already going down here. We get 4 and a couple of Marines as well, obviously killing off the gateway at the same time. Trap is going to have to try and find a defense here as this army moves forward, though. Tanks are going to siege. The problem is the Colossus is on the wrong side of the map. Now he recalls home. He's gone into an Immortal as a follow-up, so not even another tank, but an Immortal here to try and burst through. 8 SCVs went down to the Colossus aggression. That's a scan, and that's another dead observer, by the way. That's now 2 dead in the game as these Zealots, well, they don't do that much tanking because the tanks start a target fire, and then, well, nice Prism Micro will get rid of the tank target fire, allowing for the Colossus to survive. ByuN will be pushed off this position. The Raven showing back up, and that's just going to get away from there. Again, no blink, so you can't chase it very easily. And that, for me, is the one thing that's still really missing, is ByuN looks for an unload in the main base. The lack of mobility on this Protoss army, I think, is going to become very apparent very shortly. As the Prism goes back across the map, taking the Colossus here. Here come a few Marines. Stim done, so they can, I mean, they're going to get rid of the shield battery energy, and now their Stalker dies, and probes are dying. SCVs are going down, but the Colossus and the Prism go down to the turret. Oh, what a game changer that could be. I mean, that's a huge momentum swing for ByuN, who's doing damage with this at the same time. And all of a sudden, Trap has lost a lot of his early game investment. Prism speed doesn't make any difference now. Colossus doesn't make any difference. That Robobay, useless. Yeah, you got some value out of it, but that value is no longer around. Try and help you defend because he built Immortals, right? He didn't even continue with the Colossus production. Yeah, I feel like losing the Colossus is just a monumental mistake. Because it removes all pressure from the Terran side of the map, right? So all of a sudden now, more than anything else, never mind losing the units as he gets jumped on here as well. Never mind losing the units, but actually just straight up being without the pressure on the map just allows ByuN to do this. Like, the reason ByuN is just a crossover here is because there's nothing to keep him at home anymore. And that's usually the goal of the Phoenix. It's usually the goal of Blink Stalkers. It's the goal of the Prism Speed Colossus drop, which now doesn't exist. So, yeah, now you're just going to drop up into the main. The lack of mobility is still here from Trap, where he just doesn't have Blink or anything. And ByuN might just be able to stand and fight this position. Let's see what he does. Super Battery does go down. Okay, Super Battery is going to be good to chasing this away. Marines and Marauders unloading, just picking their way through the Nexus on the third base. Couple of Narcon moving forward here to try and fight this. Nexus will fall. Assault's going down, still kind of away from these couple of Archons, and oh, Prism is again taking some damage. Oh my god, Interference Matrix on the Prism as well, so it's going to stop it from unloading, stopping it from Micro, and Archons continue to drop. Zell going down, this pylon going to be picked away at as well. A couple extra units continue to show up, and I mean, ByuN just has the numbers to shut this down. Trap never really recovered from the Colossus drop, right? And in a way, you're not really meant to, because ByuN can just do exactly what he did. He played it correctly, right? He came across the map, he took advantage of the situation. And if you go back, what does Trap really have at this point, right? Like, when these fights start happening, he just doesn't have anything. You know, he's got a couple High Templar. Like, that's the thing. There's no real support. You know, yeah, okay, you've got charge, but you're also only on 5 gates. It's not like you're warping in a ton of charge lots. It's not like you've got the 3 base economy to really help out with, right? You know, you just don't have the tools in place to really make this style work. You need a bit more time. You know, you give him another minute before these attacks show up, and Trap is in a completely different world, right? Where he's got a couple of extra gateways, his charge lot numbers are continuing to build very quickly. It's a completely different scenario to what we actually see happening. And it all comes down to this Prism getting sniped down by the turret and a Viking, and losing the Colossus, and that just turned this game on its head. And ByuN comes out victorious 2-1 over Trap. And if you watch this one on YouTube, thank you very much. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the cast. We upload a video every day here on the YouTube channel. And thank you so much, and we'll see you guys later. And I'll go talk to the stream.